When people talk about contrast, they usually mean light or dark, but color contrast is something that can be just as powerful and more natural. So what do we mean by this? Contrast is simply just separation. It's how we distinguish from one element to another in the frame. Brightness is a separation from light and dark, and color contrast is just from the hue and the saturation. Brightness contrast is very direct and graphic. Think of it as contrast from the foreground and background, a direct shadow on someone's face, etc. It tells the viewer exactly where to look. But it can often feel harsh or artificial if it's pushed too far, especially on scenes that are supposed to be intimate or close-up. Color contrast creates separation without relying on brightness. Instead of making a thing brighter or darker, you just change the color altogether. For example, a warm subject against a cool background, or a saturated piece of wardrobe across a desaturated background. The brightness levels might be very similar, but because of the color difference, the subject pops. This often feels more subtle and more believable because it's actually how we experience real environments, and things are less likely to be lit dramatically. Rooms often have soft or even light, but we experience the contrast because of the color of the space. Color contrast is something that's often very unique because it involves a lot of different departments. What the camera department does is it sets the color temperature of the scene, but then wardrobe comes in to add pops of color, as well as production and set design to change the background accordingly. So it's often very useful to know which type of contrast to use. Brightness contrast is often used in high drama. High contrast lighting draws attention immediately and can often heighten emotion and tension. It's great for stylized scenes, thrillers, or moments of conflict to contrast a previous softer lighting in your film. But remember that it's easy to overdo it, and it's often hard to maintain consistency across different setups in a scene. Color contrast is ideal for dialogue scenes, naturalistically filmed scenes, and films where a very high contrast in exposure would feel wrong.